Hey, Edgar here, the host of Snug Wrestling. Are you tired of your flimsy sunglasses that look just like everyone else's? Well, check out our friends from Aquila. These are handcrafted, limited run frames made in Los Angeles using recycled materials and built to last and look clean. They got UV protection, blue light options, and even prescription lenses. Plus, Aquila gives back 1% of every sale that goes to environmental causes. And because you listen to Snug Wrestling, you get 10% off with code SNUG at checkout. Just head to aquila.la and upgrade your eyewear responsibly. That's aquila.la, A-K-I-L-A.la. Save 10% off with promo code SNUG.
Hey, this is your Olympic hero, Kurt Angle, and you're listening to Snug Wrestling. Oh, it's true. It's damn true.
What's good, folks? Welcome to Snug Wrestling. Tonight, we're going to be going over NXT Vengeance Day that just took place tonight from the Performance Center. Oddly enough, usually they do the PLE shows in like a little bit bigger arenas. At least the last couple of times, if I'm not mistaken. But they were in Orlando, and we got 5 matches. And we're going to be going over everything that went down tonight. And with me, like always, our NXT expert, Mr. Tommy's in the building. What's good, Tommy? Welcome, bro. How you feeling today?
Feeling good. Overall, I got 4-1 for the predictions. So definitely feeling good on that. The only one I got wrong was the opening match. Other than that, I was basically spot on. So happy for that. So let's get into it.
Well, I'm glad you're feeling good, dog, because I am not. So I apologize in advance for everyone that's listening. If you can tell, bro, I've been getting sick for like the past month. I've been sick like 2 or 3 times already, dog. It's been crazy. Like I was sick at the Super Bowl. That was like a month ago, literally a month ago. And got over that, got sick again. I'm like, what the hell? So I don't know what's going on. Is there a doctor in the house? Is there a doctor out there listening to me right now to the tone of my sickly voice? But anyway, that didn't stop me from watching wrestling today or covering it with you, Tommy, because there was NXT, there was Collision today, AEW Collision, there was AAA. I didn't watch Collision because, oh my God, like, there's a limit to these things, you know. But I did watch.
There's only so much wrestling one man can handle.
Yeah, dog. I watched the whole NXT show, and luckily the AAA shows, the weekly shows, are only an hour long, you know. But I still skipped one of the matches. There was 3 matches on that card. I watched the opening match and the main event, and that was it. So I was in and out pretty quickly. So yeah, if you guys missed those shows, we're going to go over NXT right now. And we got a bunch of clips on our socials, on our Instagram. If you want to see what happened on AAA or NXT, check those out now. All right. They started off the match with the street fight, Tommy. And I guess I'm not surprised by this because it's NXT, right? We've been saying this for weeks. They want to focus on crazy chaos and, you know, craziness left and right, everyone bouncing off the walls and through the walls, quite literally. So they started with Blake Monroe versus Mariah May street fight. And I'm going to let you go first on this one, Tommy. But
versus Mariah May, it was against Jaida Parker.
Oh my God. Mariah May was Blake Monroe. See, bro? It's all this fucking Blake Monroe versus Jaida Parker. Mariah May is formerly known as Blake Monroe. My bad, y'all. But yeah, I mean, how did you feel about this match, Tommy? And overall, the show, did this feel like a PLE to you at all, Tommy?
It really didn't. It felt like a higher grade version of just what we usually get on NXT. So, especially with the fact that we got a few backstage segments. We had a in-ring interview as well with Fatal Influence, but we might get to that later. So, overall, show was pretty good for me. But when it comes to the first match, Jaida Parker, I thought this was her match to win. I'm not going to lie to y'all. I thought this was going to be Jaida Parker's spot. But unfortunately, they decided to give it to Blake Monroe, in which I get why, but at the same time, Jaida Parker is so low. It's either put her up on the main roster or push her a little bit more. Because as of recently, she hasn't really been winning much as of late. She hasn't really even been in ring that much either. So I really wanted Jaida Parker to win, but unfortunately she did not.
Shout out to It's Me in the comments, and Toxic says allergies most likely, bro. I hope it's just allergies, dog. And they also say it's more like a house show. Toxic says like NXT Saturday Night's main event, question mark. Here's the thing, like for me personally, because we've been watching NXT every week, like everything that they do is crazy. It's chaotic. People fighting in the parking lot, people fighting backstage, people fighting all over the place, right? So when they do the same thing on a PLE, it doesn't feel any different. It doesn't feel any special. It just feels like a weekly NXT show, at least to me, you know. But yeah, I'm happy with this outcome. I'm glad Blake Monroe won because Jaida Parker's still going to be over, man. The people love her. I don't think Jaida Parker loses anything from getting beat in a street fight versus someone like Blake Monroe. I think Blake Monroe just maybe needed it.
I don't think either of them would have lost anything from it, though. That's the thing.
All right. Up next, speaking of crazy and chaos, Dion Lennox versus Tony D'Angelo. And at this point, I started realizing, like, damn, I don't feel like I'm invested in these matches. Like, I honestly did not really care about who wins this thing because it's kind of obvious the right guy to win this is Tony D'Angelo, right? Because he has the two reasons why I came back. One of them is to take out the Dark State. The other one, you'll find out sooner or later, right? But yeah, I mean, it was a one of those things. It was pretty obvious. They start fighting in the parking lot. The Dark State wait for Tony D'Angelo in the parking lot, and they start fighting there. Tony D'Angelo has a crowbar. But Tommy, did you notice that this whole thing was a pre-recorded video package?
I did not know.
Yeah, I mean, it was nicely done, perfectly shot, you know, nice camera angles, the whole thing. But as soon as they cut to the ring and they break through the wall, it was like two different cuts. You know, everything that they did in the parking lot backstage was one thing. And then as soon as these guys hit the ring, it's like, okay. It was just obvious to me that everything that they did before was pre-recorded, right? Finally, they get into the ring and they have a crazy match. Fucking Dion Lennox went through the announce table. This was a brawl. It wasn't really a wrestling match. This was more like a fight, obviously. But Tony D'Angelo win, Tommy.
I felt like the right man won here. Tony D'Angelo absolutely had to go over. But there was someone else during that portion out in the parking lot that was there. It wasn't just the entirety of Dark State and Tony D'Angelo. Out the Mud was out there as well, despite the fact that Dark State doesn't have the tag title. So why are they really going after Dark State since their main thing is going after those tag titles? But the match itself, I loved it. Tony D'Angelo, of course, was going to go over. Like I said, he literally just came back. He hasn't really had much in-ring stuff. So there's mission number one complete. Take out Dark State. There's that. Unfortunately, during the main event, we also did not find out what that second thing is. So is he going to tell us what that is on Tuesday? Is that what's going to happen? So who knows?
Yeah, I waited until the very, very end of that show because, you know, I don't trust that fucking, what is it called? The executive producer logo.
Yeah,
that they
the
put on the
copyright
street.
stuff. It's like WWE is giving us trust issues on that.
Yeah, so I'm like, no, I'm going to wait because I think Tony D'Angelo's going to come out. But no, he didn't. But hey, at least we have something to look forward to for NXT next week. So that's always nice. It's Me says, we've seen it all before. Match could have been better. The parking lot match was very boring. Not my favorite. Not my favorite. Because, I mean, maybe it would have been better if they shot it live. If they shot it live, it would have looked a little bit more believable, you know?
That's probably why they did it at the Performance Center, because of the fact that they already had that recorded. So it kind of had to be at the Performance Center, because if it wasn't, then it wouldn't.
Yeah, who knows? But yeah, so Right Guy won this match. And then from there, this is the second match of the night out of 5. The third match on the card was for the Women's NXT North American Champion. Tommy, I already know what you're going to say about this. You're probably
Jaida, let's go!
on cloud 9 right now. The match was all right. You know, at least it was a wrestling match. One-on-one with rules and babyface versus heel. You know, these two women have been feuding for a long time, so there's heat. Some of the stuff was a little I got to be careful with what I say because people be coming at me on the comments. It wasn't the best match that I've seen from these two, but it wasn't bad. They had a lot of interesting stuff go down, especially at the end involving Shawn Spears. You know, Shawn Spears distracting Tatum Paxley, allowing Izzi Dame to take advantage, but it worked against her. Basically, Tatum Paxley defeated Izzi Dame, even with the help of the Culling, who was ringside.
I didn't think that the Culling was even going to be out there. I mean, multiple video packages at this point involving these two have full-blown said that there was going to be no Spears and no Nico. That the rest of them weren't going to be there, that Izzy was going to be alone. Surprise, surprise, Izzi Dame was not alone. So that kind of drove me a little bit crazy there. But easily, one of the biggest parts is the fact that Tatum not only won based off of that alone, but at the same time, Izzi Dame struck Spears without meaning to. So the question is, will that cause cracks within that faction? Like, what's going to happen with that? Is Spears just going to go, hey, I get it. That was completely accidental. You didn't mean to. Or is he going to go after her with that and confront her about it?
Shout out to It's a Me. What do y'all think NXT could do better in the future? Honestly, bring in AJ Styles. You know, I heard that, or I read, actually, I shouldn't say read. I heard it straight from AJ Styles' lips himself during a podcast interview that he's going to be working with NXT talent. But if he's going to be back, if he's going to be down there on NXT, I want to see AJ Styles get involved with producing some matches, get involved with the booking, other than just trading people every now and then.
Yeah, I feel like when it comes to AJ, there's probably going to be 2 spots where he's going to end up being, because he said that he's going to help train like the younger talent and all of that. So obviously he might be on NXT, but he also might show up on LFG as well, since that's literally the entire thing is legends and future greats. So that's building up the future talents into going into NXT. So maybe he might show up there as well.
Also, It's a Me says, by the way, arriba las chivas, bruh. That's one of the reasons we're reviewing NXT right now, because usually we review right after the show goes off air, but NXT started at 4 p.m. My Chivas started at 5 p.m. So I was like, bro, I'm sorry, Tommy, but I got to watch this fucking game. And it was worth it because we won. And thankfully, Tommy was cool enough to work with me tonight, and we were able to review it tonight. But Toxic says AJ Styles for the new NXT general manager.
I would not mind. I would not mind that at all.
Yeah. But then that would require AJ Styles to be on TV every week, and that kind of defeats the purpose of retirement.
Yeah, he did say that he retired just so he can mainly be with his family.
Yeah.
That was his problem.
Well, I don't know if that's a problem. I wouldn't call that a problem. But...
Well, yeah, you're making a crap ton of money for it and all of that. But at the same time, many wrestlers have full-blown said they're missing the biggest moments with their kids. First steps, first words, everything.
I think AJ Styles is just going to be doing like drop-ins every now and then, working part-time. At least that's what I gathered from everything AJ Styles was saying. He didn't specifically say, oh, I'm only going to be there part-time. No, but he was like, you know, I want to spend time with my family, but I'm also going to be on, you know, in NXT. So, you know, just putting 2 and 2 together here. The fourth match, Tommy, Oh boy, the fourth match. You're gonna have to help me out with this one, bro. I got a lot of questions about this, dog. It was the underground match between Lola
Underground.
Vice, Kelani Jordan. They come out with like MMA gear with the MMA look, wearing the MMA gloves. And the ring is set up where there's no ropes and there's a bunch of NXT wrestlers surrounding the ring. And I wasn't really paying attention. I skipped through the entrances, but did they explain like the actual rules of this thing ahead of time?
They did. It is basically a no DQ match where the only way you can win is either tap out or knocking them out cold. You cannot pin them. Like, that is how that specific works, and that is the only way to end the match.
So it's MMA rules in, basically, right?
Pretty much, yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I got that as soon as we got to the end of the match. But at first I was like, okay, maybe I shouldn't have skipped over the entrance. Why were there a bunch of people outside of the ring?
That one, I have no clue. I haven't really dug into that portion. I know the whole ropeless part is, yeah, you can't bounce off of them, all of that. But when it comes to the people being around the ring, I have no clue.
Yeah, because I was like, is this like a lumberjack match? Like, are they supposed to keep them from falling out? Like, I don't get it, right? Other than just for just the presentation of it, it just looks cooler to have people standing out there, right? Because at one point during the match, they roll out of the ring and everyone just gets out of the way. And I'm just like, wait, this is supposed to be like MMA style. When do MMA fighters ever fall out of the ring? Ever? And what is the point of having those people out there then? If they're just... Anyway, the match continues. And this kind of reminded me of AEW did this too, where they tried, and I say tried for a reason, to have a shoot style MMA fight with the cage and everything on AEW at one point.
To remind you, WWE did the same thing with Ronda Rousey, her retirement match.
Yeah, I don't even remember. They did it a couple times when Shane McMahon was around. Wasn't Shane McMahon doing this on Monday Night Raw too?
I think so, but I cannot remember exact moment.
Yeah, I think they did. That was when the big guy, the big dude that was with Apollo Crews when they were doing the Nigerian gimmick, he was there. There's a bunch of people. They did it for a month or two, I think, and then they were like, yeah, this isn't it. This isn't working. So it reminded me of that. It also reminded me of back in the Attitude Era, they tried to have actual boxing matches at one point too. Did you ever see that, Tommy?
You talking AEW or?
No, WWF.
Yeah, because wasn't that with Mike Tyson or something like that? That they decided, hey, look, we're just gonna do this.
Nah, dude, it was I forgot whose idea it was. I've heard this story a long time ago where they just decided it was Butterbing.
Oh,
I think the idea came from Butterbing.
Yeah.
They wanted to put a pro wrestler in a boxing ring with Butterbing, who's a real boxer, a professional boxer.
Actual boxer, yeah.
Heavyweight boxer with a pro wrestler who I don't even think this guy ever boxed before. I can't remember his name. Butterbing knocked him out cold in seconds. Because obviously, what the fuck? And they did it a couple more times with actual wrestlers. I want to say at the time, maybe JBL was one of the boxers of this thing, where they did it on Monday Night Raw. They put boxing gloves on wrestlers and they started punching each other for real, like a shoot. But, obviously this wasn't a shoot that what Kelani Jordan and Lola Vice were doing, but it just, to me, I'm just like, I don't want to see this in a pro wrestling show. I want to see pro, and for the most part, they were just doing pro wrestling anyway. So I'm like, what's the point of having this underground thing if they're just it's MMA presentation, but they're just wrestling anyway. So I don't know. I didn't really like this, but what'd you think?
Because who started it was Lola Vice. That's why. Because they did bring up in the pre-show and right before this match as well that Lola Vice is completely undefeated in the underground. That's just how she is. She's that good at this type of match. This is her match to win constant. So the entire reason why this match became a thing, I believe, if I remember correctly, Lola Vice was the first one, is the fact that Lola has that whole MMA background a little bit. So that's probably wise. That way she can show off that. It's why at one point Lola Vice did one against Shayna Baszler. Shayna said that to Kelani Jordan, that those two have been in the underground together, and she got beat by Lola Vice, basically saying, hey, she is everything she says she is and more with this. So that's the entire reason for that. But this match, it was a foregone conclusion. Even on injury, Lola Vice was not going to lose against Kelani Jordan. Because the problem with Kelani Jordan is the fact that her entire mindset was all on, oh, my gymnastics ways will get me through. My gymnastics ways will get me to win. No, that clearly did not work. As Shayna Baszler said multiple times, that was not going to work. And
shout out to It's Me says, I seen that match versus Bart Gunn. Yes, that's right. It was Bart Gunn, the guy that got knocked out by Butterbing. Oh man, good times. They also say, I haven't seen something like this before regarding the MMA wannabe match. Yeah, they did it in AEW. You can find it easily if you Google it. And they also did it on Monday Night Raw. I want to say, fuck, I wish Toxic or Mr. Blood were here. They would tell you the year, the day, the hour, the minute this shit happened. But it was a few years ago. It was around the time Shane McMahon was around. So, what, 15, 16? Something like that? I don't know.
I know a couple years ago, it was, I believe it was Shayna Baszler with Ronda Rousey, with the contention that if Ronda lost, she would never wrestle in WWE again. And that is how they wrote her out before, I believe, releasing.
Yeah. Speaking of believing, we all believed in Joe Hendry, and he fucking did it, man. Joe Hendry defeated Ricky Saints in the main event for the NXT Championship. And this was refreshing for me because they had a wrestling match. You know, they got the street fights out of the way and all the craziness, the MMA stuff that they were doing. These two had a one-on-one, and they were doing wrestling moves, drop kicks, and all the lovely back body drops. And the AA, Joe Hendry hit Ricky Saints with an attitude adjustment at one point. Shout out to Cena. Yeah, fix your attitude, Ricky. Here's a attitude adjustment for you for good measure. But I really like this, man. I like both of these guys. Ethan Page got involved. There were some shenanigans. Ricky Saints was asking Ethan Page, throw me the title. Ethan Page overshoots it over to Joe Hendry. Oh, what the hell? Did he do that on purpose? But it ended up working out for Joe Hendry. And this kind of leads to what's going to happen next, Tommy. Our theory that Ethan Page, I think he's got his eyes on that NXT Championship too.
Yeah, there are clearly 4 people going all around this NXT title right now. One of them, we don't even know if that's his plan yet. I have a feeling like it. So you've got, obviously, Joe Hendry, the current champion. You've got Ricky Saints, the man who literally just got beat when it comes to that NXT title. Got Ethan Page, in which I do believe that he did not just overshoot it. I think he did that on purpose just to screw Ricky Saints over. And then you've got Tony D'Angelo. I think that is the reason why he's back. I think that NXT title is that second mission, is to get that title and become the man at the head of the business of NXT. That is what I think is going to happen. But this match, for me, it was pretty much a foregone conclusion at that point, because there was no way this early on that Joe Hendry was losing that NXT. There was no way. So that is the main reason why we both thought that Joe Hendry would retain it. And he did. Little bit upset that Tony D'Angelo didn't come out, because it would have been great for that to be the way that we find out that's his second mission. But he didn't. We'll most likely find out on Tuesday.
Yeah, line him up for good old Joe Hendry. He wants to prove he's a fighting champion. Let's see it. Now, that was quick, Tommy. We got through this pretty quickly tonight, huh? I think we did pretty good.
Unless you also want to go through that in-ring interview that ended in the announcement of a fucking triple threat.
Oh, great. Another triple threat. I didn't even see this. What happened?
So Stone comes out, all of that. He then brings out Fatal Influence. They start talking about the NXT title, and then Zarya comes out. Just go, hey, I got myself screwed over by Sol Ruca. I want a rematch for it. Next thing you know, say her name and she appears. Sol Ruca comes out and full-blown says, all I see in that ring are two souls that I'm going to snap. So Sol Ruca comes out, cuts her promo, and Stone announces that on Tuesday, it will be Jacy Jayne versus Zarya versus Sol Ruca for the NXT Women's title. Triple threat for that. Right after that, Fatal Influence decides, hey, look, there's only two of them. Let's go for it. So Zarya and Sol Ruca end up laid out, and Jacy Jayne is right behind them holding the title up.
Great. I thought they would set it up for stand and deliver, but so next week we got a triple threat match, Ben, right?
Yep.
All right. Not too excited about that one, honestly. But hey, who do you think is going to win? Let's just do some quick predictions before we get out of here.
I think that Zarya and Sol are going to be too focused on going after each other after screwing each other over. So I think Jacy.
Okay, that makes sense. All right, well, that's going to do it for us tonight. Quick, easy show. Thanks to everyone that was in the comments. Toxic, it's on me. Appreciate y'all joining us. They say, do you think we will see Cena again this year? Nah, bro. Cena's done. I think.
Unless he randomly shows up to go, hey, look, this is how many people are in the audience, just for like a pop, just to get people there and all of that. That's the only way.
Because I know let the man live, bro. Let the man rest. Let him live, man. Have you been seeing those videos of him in public? He looks tired.
Yeah.
He looks beat up. He looks hella hunched. I'm like, bro, we don't thank you, Cena, for everything that you did. Fucking 20 years. What more do we want? You know, it's going to be okay. If Cena doesn't return, we got other stars that we can be excited for. That's how I feel.
I know they've been doing the same things with Steve Austin at WrestleMania 40. And then there was Taker with him literally announcing so far all three members of the Hall of Fame, one of them being a tag team, that being Stephanie McMahon, AJ Styles, and then, God, I cannot remember for
Demolition, I think.
Yeah, and then Demolition.
Yeah.
And he has announced all three of them.
Yeah, they also say, what are you drinking? I'm drinking tea, bro. I'm drinking tea. But I put a little bourbon in it, man, just so I can chill, feel relaxed. So I'm feeling good right now, bro. It's Saturday today. Yeah, today's Saturday. So yeah, man, having a good night with everyone here. Thanks, Tommy, like always. It's me says, I want to join next week. Thanks, bro. I appreciate that. Appreciate all the love, man. We have 4 people on the panel, man. It's hard to manage 4 people sometimes. But I would definitely love for you guys to join us in the comments at least. And I'll be happy to read all the comments that we get. But yeah, man. Anything else, Tommy, before we get up out of here?
Not really, no.
All right, y'all. Well, we're going to call it. That was NXT Vengeance. Tommy and I will be back again Wednesday for the NXT review to see what the fallout of all of this is going to be. So we'll see you guys then.
All right. So you can catch us every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday for Raw, NXT, and SmackDown, respectively. You've also got that Thursday one-on-one with Mr. Blood and Snug on TikTok Live as well, where they go through current and relevant wrestling topics along with answering your fan questions. So, with that being said, also get your merch at tpublic.com/snug_wrestling. That is TEE as in t-shirt.com/snug wrestling. All right, so that was 4 letters, 1 word. Oh!